This is Lahana High School speech class, Tigers Talking on the Prairie. Our podcast today is about football injuries. Let's go to our first topic with Jesse.
My topic was about the most common injuries. The most common football injuries are the knee, head, dislocation, fractures, sprains, strains, and shin splints. I can tell you more about this common injuries that are in football, and I have 3 main points I'm going to go over for you guys. My first main point is fractures. My second main point is dislocations, and then my third main point is sprains and strains. My first main point is fractures. It is commonly known as a broken bone, and they are common in sports injuries such as football, because it's a physical sport. It can have repeated stress on the bone and start to crack after it's been healing, so it can make it worse if you don't be careful with it. If it starts to crack, it can cause an acute fracture and break completely. Your bone will be in 2 pieces.
And then with that, there's 2 different levels of it. There's an internal and external. Internal is when the bone is still in your arm. External is when it pokes through the skin.
Yeah, and it's popping out.
Which is worse?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Way worse. Depends on how bad the break is. It may need or may not need surgery immediately, or maybe it might need it over time. My second main point is dislocations. These are occurred when force pushes the bone into the joint out of the alignment. They are also known as luxation. Stretching and falling may cause dislocations if you go overstretching or fall really hard. They are emergencies and need to be treated or need treatment on a dislocation. Like, if it's really bad, it might need it right away, but if it's not, it might need, you could have time.
And if you wait those dislocations, if you wait too long, you can put them back in, but they'll always keep popping back out.
Yeah. If the dislocation is not so bad, it may be able to be popped back in, but as what you just said, it may pop back out after over time and it hurting. The joint tissue may be damaged because of the dislocation. The most common dislocations are in your hands, fingers, and shoulders. They're not too far behind your shoulder, so I've seen a lot of shoulder dislocations. Also, the elbow, the knee, and the hip can be dislocated, but they're less common than your hands, shoulder. My third main point is sprains and strains. They are most common injuries by far in the physical active sports, such as football again, because that's our topic. A sprain is when a ligament tears or overstretches. These can range from minor to complete tears where the ligament serves. A strain is mostly in the wrist, ankle, knee. A strain is also known as a pulled muscle and occurs when the fiber within a muscle or tendon stretches too far or tears. A strain can be very minor to severe. My conclusion, I went over 3 main points. My first main point is fractures. My second main point is dislocations. My third main point is sprains and strains. So that is some of the most common injuries in football or in physical active sports. And next topic would go to Theo. What did you have today?
My topic was minor football injuries, and we always hear about those injuries that take players out of the NFL or at college football or at high school football for the entire season. But they're only a small part of the ones we hear about. Some of the minor football injuries are able to be, if you just trim right, they can heal within a week or less. And the three major sections of minor injuries I'm going to be covering are overuse and heat injuries, and bruising.
Yeah.
My first one is overuse injuries, and these are caused when an athlete is training 24/7, damaging his body faster than it can repair itself, causing it to gradually break down and then cause issues. These usually, if you take a day or two off, they'll heal up, but maybe it might take longer, up to a week.
How do you know when you're energized and able to redo what you were doing?
Whenever it happened to me, I just did it based on a day or two, based on maybe a day after the pain went away.
Yeah.
And then I start back slowly,
So
building back up to my old
building
level.
back up.
Then another one, and those also can happen in your bones. They're called stress fractures, when repeat impact and stuff causes hairline fractures in the bone that doesn't completely break it but hurts like hell. It takes up to 2 or 3 weeks to heal. And then there's sprains, which are slight overuse and slightly overstretched tendons and muscles, and those are caused by sudden starts and stops. That's why a lot of sprinters pull stuff, because they're going out of the blocks quickly. Then there's heat injuries, which can repair within a day if you just take easy and drink water. The first level is dehydration, when there isn't enough water in the body or it's too hot outside. You just start feeling a little tired, you're really thirsty.
Yeah.
And then you keep ignoring that, it goes to heat exhaustion, which is a higher level of dehydration. It causes fatigue, lightheadedness, you start getting dizzy, and then near the most serious case of that, you start seeing things. Then it goes to heat stroke, where your body overheats because it doesn't have enough water to cool it down. You see things, you get really dizzy, you can barely keep a straight thought, you pass out. And that's the worst type, because if you ignore it when it gets to that point, there's a chance you could die, and those are the most serious types of heat injuries. Then there's bruising, which are hard hits to the muscles or bones that don't break them or cause stress fractures, but it causes pain and throbbing as the muscle kind of swells up a little bit. And usually if you just use ice and not work that muscle or bone, it heals within a week. And there are some of the most common minor football injuries that can usually be healed within 1 or 2 weeks.
Yeah.
And if you get these, they should be considered immediately, so you can correct them when they're minor and before they grow into something major, like a broken bone or a pulled hamstring where you can't run, play football, or do any sport for a long time.
Or a stress fracture.
Yeah.
That can become an acute fracture.
Yep. And then we're going to move on to Preston, who has the most serious football injuries.
Okay, so there are a lot of types of football injuries, and most of them go to your head, shoulder, knees. Not so much your arms and legs, but a lot with your ankle. My first main point is the types. The second main point is how to prevent them. And my last main point is the outcomes. Okay, so there is so many types of football injuries. There's shoulder injuries, head injuries, ankle injuries, broken bones, arms, legs, ankles. Um, a lot of torn ligaments, and that mostly occurs in your ankle and your knee. Sometimes it happens in your shoulder. And then there's also a lot of like muscle, a lot of pulled muscles and bruising and everything like that.
Some of those ligaments in the knee that we hear about a lot are the ACL.
Yeah, and MCL. And then how to prevent these injuries: always keep your body warm, stretch and warm up before you do intense activity. Make your muscles work so that way they don't strain, because there's always acid in your muscles, and once you make your muscles work, that acid will just sit there if you don't stretch again and everything like that, and it hurts, it burns.
That's why cool downs are important, because if you helps get that lactic acid out of your muscles after the workout, so you're not sore and stiffened the next day.
And then another way to prevent this is always wear protective gear. Shoulder pads, well, for football, it's shoulder pads, braces, any type of braces that you need for your knees, your ankles, shoulder, anything. And that includes like,
Maybe even your back, you might need a
yeah,
brace.
there's certain pads that we have for shoulders and everything like that. And then always use your eyes to prevent what could happen, because only you see when a player's coming at you and where they're going for your upper body, your mid body, your legs, your feet, anything like that. So you can try to prevent what can happen. Some of the outcomes, what you mostly hear in knees is torn ligaments, which can affect you for the rest of your life, because you'll need surgery on an ACL, a torn ACL, and
You can re-tear it after.
yeah. And then actually brings me to the next part of that. It says some of them are as serious as needing surgery, like your ACL, and I know torn ligaments in your shoulder, like your labrum and everything like that, you'll have to have surgery. And broken bones, they take weeks to heal, but they can still affect your ability to do things. And they can be really severe, and they can make it to where you may not be able to play ever again, depending on how bad you break it. Like Theo said, there's those breaks that come out of your skin and then breaks that stay in your skin. And I want to know which one is worse, if it come out or if it stays in, because even if it stays in, they can be broken still so bad that.
Yeah, but if it's
If it stays in, it's still all together, and they can just realign it.
Yeah.
And if it doesn't stay in, they have to push the bone back in, stitch that up, and then realign the bone.
Yeah, as Jesse said, if it comes out, it's worse because you've got to put it back into your arm.
Stitch that up.
Yeah, but if it stays in, you could just
Realign it.
It either means it's an acute fracture that doesn't go completely through the bone, or you could just put it back in place and hold it while you put your cast or splint on.
Yeah.
Which brings me to concussions. Concussions are very serious in most sports, especially football, because you're always hitting your heads with other players and everything, and it can impair your vision and your thought and everything and concentration. You could be out for days or up to weeks. It just depends on how bad your concussion is and how serious it is. Not even that, but a concussion can affect you for the rest of your life, depending on how hard you get hit, and because your brain moves inside of your head when you get hit. There's nothing protecting you.
Yeah, your brain doesn't heal from those injuries.
Yep.
You get brain damage from it too. Really bad.
Yeah. So everything I went over the types of injuries, how to prevent them, and the outcomes of them. There's many different injuries with many different outcomes. There's always a way to prevent them. Which takes us to our last topic, minor injuries and major injuries.
football injuries, every injury you can do something to help heal it quicker. And with most football injuries, these are it's pretty common and easy to do these. And while the injuries never are completely eliminated from sports, there's always ways to help prevent them, make them less likely to happen. As Preston said, 3 ways to reduce injuries are to exercise right, use the right equipment, and choose the right time to return to play after the injuries. The first point I have is injuries being common, and the way to prevent them. Most common way I can think of is to warm up, cool down, and stay hydrated, which helps remove the risks of dehydration, pulling stuff, and then it helps get rid of the lactic acid from your muscles, causing them to be a little less sore in the morning. And when you don't do this, like not drinking enough fluids, your body isn't creating enough sweat, and about the right amount is 24 ounces 2 hours before exercise, and then every 20 minutes you should be drinking about 8 ounces of water, or more depending on how much you're sweating and how hot it is. Then the second way to prevent the injuries is to use the right equipment. As Preston said, those include the helmet, pads, thigh guards, cups, your jersey, which helps keep you from getting rug burn on the grass, mouth guard to protect your teeth, and then your shoes, which support your ankles and feet so you don't mess those up. And if you hurt those, the only real way I can think of to heal most injuries in football is ice. If it gets bad, put some pressure on it, and just take a lot of time off. Take time off until it heals up.
Yeah.
And if it's really bad, you don't want to return before you're not ready, because constant re-injury could just cause your body to quit healing that part.
Yeah.
Which is kind of like if you keep scratching a bug bite, it'll keep scabbing over, then eventually it'll just stay open and put a small scar over it, and that never goes away.
And it keeps irritating it.
Yep. Also, returning too soon causes those injuries to repeat themselves, which enough of that happens, as I said, it leads to the body stopping healing. And you should always have doctor's note or approval before you return to play, unless I think it's something minor. Like, for me, I've never needed those, even though I've gone pretty messed up in cross country.
Yeah.
From doing stupid things, twisting my ankle pretty badly, pulling stuff.
Yeah.
And then, in conclusion, all injuries can be prevented, but all of them have things you can do to help heal them up, and you can do things to help reduce the chance of getting those injuries in the future.
So this is the most common injuries and the serious common injuries in football and the types of injuries.
That sums up our podcast for today.